Welcome into Saratoga Saturdays. I'm Anita Marks. He's Jonathan Kinchen, and we're going to be with you for the next 8 weeks, every Saturday morning, right here at 9 a.m., getting you ready for the races. Except next week, I've got a big event in Asbury Park, so we're moving it up. Sorry, Jonathan. I know we just met. It's all about me. It's not about you. So at 8 a.m. next Saturday. But other than that, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m., we're going to be here for you. And Jonathan, I was telling you this before we started the show. You know, people know me more for football and golf, but I've never received more text messages because we've been promoting the show on social media. I've never received more text messages about the excitement of people I know that I have an opportunity to work with you for the next 8 weeks. So I'm buckled up. I'm in for the ride. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, it's going to be fun. I mean, this is a great place. Obviously, Saratoga is a special place for horse players, but it's also a fun place for your family and for just random guys trips or girls trips where you just show up, eat good food, enjoy this quaint little town, and maybe bet on some horses.
All right. So, again, Saratoga Saturdays is airing on a lot of different platforms, and mine for the first time. And I do bring a number of followers who dabble in horse racing. So just for a quick second, if you can, kind of share with us, how did you get into this? You're so successful. You've won a ton of tournaments. Again, I'm told you can't walk 5 feet up in Saratoga without somebody asking you for your autograph. So how did you get in the business and how did you get so successful at doing this?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. My dad is a gambler at heart. He would probably prefer a slot machine, but in Dallas, Texas, where I grew up, we didn't have that. We used to go to Lone Star Park, and he would bet our address, and just that was his version. And I used to not like it, and then I kind of fell in love with the puzzle. Fast forward to 2005, I was at the University of Texas. We drove over to Maynard Downs, a racetrack that's no longer with us. I bet $5 across the board on Giacomo, who was 50-1 to win that Kentucky Derby. He won. I bought the keg beer that night. I also bought some books and started playing. Won a couple contests, had a couple big scores. Next thing you know, I ended up hanging out on Fox doing America's Day at the Races in Saratoga Live, and it's one of the funnest things I've ever done.
I love it. I love it. All right, so let's dive into it. Again, Saratoga Saturdays, here we go. We're going to start with race 5, 5.5 furlongs. 2-year-olds will be racing. Talk to me about the number 7 horse, Montauk Point. Listen, everybody likes Montauk. It's the place to go in the summer. But talk about Montauk Point.
Yeah, I would try to tell, your listeners and followers, I would treat it kind of like the NFL draft with some of these races. You're getting to see what these horses are going to turn into, these stars, that excitement of what's to come. And that's kind of what these 2-year-old races are. These are the types of horses that are going to show up and grow up into being the superstars of this game. You think about all the best horses in the world, they have to start somewhere. And a horse like Montauk Point could be one of those horses. She's a half to Kofefi. Kofefi was a very talented racehorse. And when you have half siblings, a lot of times the families are productive. And so if you have a good one, there's a chance that there's going to be another good one. So that's the excitement with Montauk Point, being a half to Kofefi. She's trained by a Hall of Famer in Shug McGahee. She's ridden by a future Hall of Famer in Jose Ortiz. And so this is one of my favorite parts about Saratoga is getting ready to see these superstars and kind of crossing your fingers and hoping they live up to their families.
Thoughts on the number 5 horse, uninvited guest, a Todd Pletcher horse, and Jose's brother is the jockey for that one. So thoughts on uninvited guest in this race? Yeah,
you talk about superstars in this game, and a lot of them have 4 legs, but there's some that have 2, and that happens to be one of them, Irad Ortiz. A really cool story between Irad and Jose. When it comes to Saratoga, they bang heads the entire year to try to win this meet title. And it's a big deal for them. It's a big deal for riders. Their mentor, Johnny Velasquez, one of the most winning riders of all time. He's got the most wins at Saratoga. Their other idol, Angel Cordero, called the king of Saratoga. So it means a lot to these kids when they get up here to try to run and to win this meet. And so whenever you see Irad and Jose on there, on these horses, they're riding good ones, and they're extremely talented. So you mentioned the horse that Irad's on, Uninvited Guest. This is a horse that shows some talent. Ran well on debut and has a little bit of an edge versus a horse like Montauk Point because the horse has some experience. Not their first time. They're still learning. They're still learning what their jobs are to break away from the gate and to try to get to some position. So it'll be fun to see how those two hook up.
Every race we talk about, I like to say, okay, I'm grabbing your hand. You're walking to the window with me, or in this day and age, I'm taking you to my computer, right? And I'm putting in the bet. How would you play this? You're talking to the teller. How are you playing this race?
Yeah, well, I'm a huge fan of multi-race bets. Plays very similar to a parlay. This is the fifth race, so it'd be the last leg of a pick five. The pick five, the pick six, two of my favorite wagers. I would try to get alive to both of these horses, meaning I would play the pick five starting in race one and try to get alive to the 5 and the 7. They seem to have a ton of talent, and those are the ways that I would try to play it. If you want to keep it simple and you just want to bet to win, I would just try to pick one of those. It's up to you really in that situation. Do you want to take the horse that is highly touted because of their family making their first start? Or do you want to take the horse who's trained by a Hall of Famer, ridden by the best rider in the world, and has some experience? It's really up to you. I'm more of a price person. It depends on what happens when I'm walking to that window, like you said, to see who's the favorite, who's not the favorite. I would probably take the longer priced horse in this situation.
Okay, so the morning form, Montauk Point 3-1, uninvited guest 4-1. I'm sure those lines will change as we get closer to post time. Before we move forward, we're going to break down the race number 6, the 6th race. But one thing I neglected, and I wanted to touch on this when we opened up the show, and that is the weather. I think the weather is going to be a really big storyline, right? Today, weather conditions, no bueno, as I like to say, not going to be good. So if you can kind of share with us, how are you handicapping these races, especially the Diana? Post time is at 6:16. So, and at that point in time, weather conditions are supposed to be pretty bad and follow into Sunday. But with the rain coming, turf, grass, kind of share with us how you're going to be handicapping today.
Yeah, it's funny. We when we talked about some of the races we want to talk about, race 6 is probably a dangerous one to spend too much time on, like you mentioned, because of the weather. These are young horses making their first starts, a lot of them on the grass. I'm pretty sure they're going to take this race off the grass. A race like the Diana, a grade 1, a big race like the Diana, I don't think they'll take that race off the grass, but they want to do that for a couple of reasons. One, they have to preserve the grass. Think about it when you go out there and you're swinging the golf club on a grass that's got some moisture in it, you're going to tear it up pretty quick. Now, pretend there's a 1,000-pound animal running around that golf course and what it's going to do to the ground. So we try to preserve it throughout the year. It's also a little bit, could be more dangerous for some of the riders. It could be a little bit more inconsistent. It could be slippery. So this is a race I'd imagine will come off the grass. But for the sake of conversation, I think it's important to note that Chad Brown does have a first-time starter in here for Clarvich Stables. It feels like Clarvich Stables and Chad Brown win 800 turf races a year, and it starts with these 2-year-olds that end up being special horses. But I have a feeling this one will come off, and all the big grass horses will likely scratch.
So again, this is race 6, a little over a mile on turf, 2-year-olds. You're talking about number 4, Portfolio Company. That's the Chad Brown horse. Also, 2 other horses I'm looking at here. That's number 3, Rattle and Roll, and number 5, Never Say Now. Thoughts on this race? How are you playing it?
Yeah, so it's interesting you mentioned Rattle and Roll. If you see, Rattle and Roll has made a start, and it was on the dirt and ran well on the dirt. And what I think you can expect is that if this race comes off the grass, this is a horse that will probably stay on and run on the dirt, and a horse that I think would be very live running on the dirt, whether it comes up sloppy, which I presume that it will, or fast.
All right, let's take a look at race number 8, and this is the allowance, 7 furlongs, 3-year-olds and older. One horse you're keeping an eye on is the first horse, and that's Bo Liam, 3-1. Now, impressive debut, lots of speed, but my biggest concern, red flag here, is that number 1 post, especially with such a big field.
Yeah, you can make up a great point. When it comes to the inside, it's not always the most convenient place. What I always like to say is if you don't break well, you can sometimes get shuffled. You get in behind horses. There's a thing called kickback that these horses have to deal with, especially when they're young, which is getting dirt from the horses in front of them kicked in their face. Some of them could care less. Some of them don't like it. So some of them will kind of run away from it, or slow down to try to avoid it. And I think a horse like Bo Liam, it's not something you have to worry about. This horse has run well previously, showed a bunch of early speed, broke away from the gate well, and he has Ricardo Santana, who's one of the best gate riders in the world. He gets out of the gate quickly. I would presume that he'll break away from their running and won't have any problems being on the inside.
Let's talk about the horse on the opposite end of the spectrum, and that's the horse that drew the 12th post. Is it Mahamel? Am I pronouncing that properly?
Yeah, our friends at Shadwell, they name horses in some ways that makes it very difficult for me to try to pronounce it. But I would say Mahamel. Yeah, that's the way I would do it. Or if I was on TV, I would just say the 12 horse. But drawn towards the outside, I think on racetracks like this is good. When you can avoid, if you break a step slow, you're in the clear still. You don't have a horse to your outside to worry about bumping you. You're not going to get in behind horses if you're a tactical horse like Mahamel, and you'll be in the clear. The other thing that Mahamel has going for him is that he's run on a racetrack with some moisture in it before, and he ran extremely well that day. Some horses, like a muddier surface better than others. Some don't care, but when you do have one who has run well on a surface that has some moisture in it, it's something to take note of if they're going to be doing that again today.
Thoughts on the 7th horse, Witzel, 8-1 on the morning form. If I was to play 3 horses, would it be the 112? Should I throw in the 7? Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think the 7's live. Here's the big issue, though. It's Chad Brown. It's IRAD. It's 8-1 morning line, and I have a feeling that'll come down. And just to clarify for your listeners, the morning line is a prediction of what the off odds will be. It's not a starting point. It's not like the Patriots opened up -7, and then they're going to move to -7.5, and then they're going to move to 8. It's a prediction of where the final number will be, and the people that are betting are going to make that decision. When these pools open here in the next couple of hours, people can start betting the race, and the odds will be affected. So don't let the morning line skew you too much. It's a nice starting point. This horse is going to be bet down from 8-1. You don't get those connections. You don't get IRAD and Chad at that price. So I do think the horse makes sense, though. It looks like it was probably a private purchase at Tampa Bay. You'll see there was a previous trainer named, and now with Chad Brown for connections, Peter Brandt and Bob LaPinta, that will buy a horse that's already been racing and switch them over to their care. And so I do think Witzel makes a little bit of sense in here, has a nice pedigree, and you can't go wrong with Chad and IRAD up here at Saratoga.
All right, race 9, the Sanford Grade 3 2-year-old 6 furlongs. Let's talk about the number 1 horse, Wit. Todd Pletcher horse had a slow start at the Belmont Stakes. Are you looking for a better start out of the gate today?
Yeah, I would think so. That's one of those situations we talk about when we were talking about the 5th race earlier, and what to do with a horse that's making their first start versus a horse that has some experience. A lot of times horses, they're still learning their job. They'll break away from their slow. The second time they go over there, they figure it out. The other thing is that trainers, and especially Hall of Fame trainers like Todd Pletcher, can work on those things in the morning. They can go over to the gate. They can practice getting out of the gate. They can stand in there and make them more comfortable. The riders also see that the horse broke slow last time. Let's get him out of there a little bit quicker this time. So I think Wit will break better. And these are these races that really get you excited. We talk about the maiden races for young horses. These stakes races are even better. They will get you going. And I think Wit and Candy Landing to the inside, those are the 2 horses I want. But Wit does need to get out of the gate better. You don't want a young horse like that getting stuck in behind horses on a sloppy racetrack.
The number 2 horse you just mentioned, Candy Landing, with a lot of speed. What about the 9 horse, Headline Report? Had a win at Kinchen in its debut.
Yeah, this is a horse that broke a little bit slow that day as well, but had some speed. He's trained by Wesley Ward, and Wesley Ward is a trainer that's successful in lots of things. But one thing that he really is an expert at is 2-year-olds. He does really well with these 2-year-olds and getting them out of the gate. So the fact that this one broke a little bit slow is a little bit concerning, because Wesley's horses don't do that. And if a horse does break like this, it could be a problem that could be habitual, and you want to be careful. Wesley's horses are often overbet, these 2-year-olds as well. That speed figure, which is, I like to say, it's kind of like a quarterback rating. The higher, the better. It helps us understand how fast a race was run, so we don't have to worry about time. The racetracks can change, so speed figures are a great guide. Headline Report doesn't seem to be as fast as the other 2 to the inside with Wit and Candy Landing. Playing pick 5s, pick 6s, anything late in the day, I want to make sure I have Wit and Candy Landing, and I'd be okay if I didn't have the 9.
All right, so the big race, again, post time around 6:16. That's race 10, the Diana Grade 1 turf, 4 years and older. And you've got the international powerhouse, right? The Godolphins. And we're talking about the 6-horse Summer Romance, as well as Altica. I mean, this is what it reminds me of. Do you watch the Tour de France?
I do. Okay. Well, not a lot, but I know what you're talking about.
Right. Okay. Well, a lot of people don't realize, it's more of a team. You know what I mean? Like you're setting up. You've got one guy that you're anticipating to win, And so the rest of the team is setting up that race to help that other horse raise. Summer Romance, more of a pace setter, and Altica more of, runs late. So is that am I kind of spot on in regard to this analogy? How this is like a two-team type of tag team?
In racing, we have a thing called a rabbit, where sometimes, like you mentioned, a stable will have two horses entered, and they have one horse that wants to come from off the pace. They need the other horses that are forward to get tired, so they'll send one of their other horses out there to basically tire the other horses. Now, it doesn't happen as often as it used to back in the day. Just like anything else, it's kind of softened up a bit, if you will. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that Summer Romance will be used as a rabbit, but I think what will happen is something that you mentioned, team tactics, where Summer Romance is going to be aggressive to the front end, and that's her best chance to win. And if that doesn't work, it's going to help Altica. So it's a situation where you go there, I'll go here, and one of us will get it done. I think that we will see that, and we saw something similar to that in the Just a Game on Belmont Stakes Day. And like you mentioned, the Godolphin organization is a powerful one. And one good hint you can always look for when Godolphin has two horses in a race, they have to make a decision on which one's going to wear the blue cap and which one's going to wear the white cap. And they always put the blue cap on the one they think has the better chance to get their picture taken. Interesting.
Nice little nugget there, Jonathan. All right, some other horses to keep an eye on in this race. The number 2 horse, Pocket Square, trainer Chad Brown. Number 5, Harvey's Little Goyle. I'm a huge fan of American Pharoah. That year is the only time I completed the trifecta. I was, at that point in time, I was working for NBC. I did the pre-race for the Kentucky Derby with NBC, the pre-race for the Kentucky Derby for the Preakness with NBC, and then I switched over and I came over to ESPN, who I'm with now. And ESPN, that was my first gig with ESPN. I went to Belmont, did a 3-hour pre-race show, and I was blessed to be in one of the owner's box when American Pharoah won the Triple Crown. And I have to say, probably one of the most amazing experiences of my professional career. I just it was just to be in the grandstands, to be in an owner's box, to watch him cross that finish line, to win a Triple Crown and be there in witness. I couldn't control my emotions. I had tears flowing. I was hugging strangers. It was just, again, it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. So there's a special part of my heart that is for American Pharoah, and considering that he is the sire of Harvey's Little Goyle, I'm going to keep an eye on him. And also the 7th horse, La Mista, another Chad Brown horse, looking for his 5th straight Diana win. So a number of horses to keep an eye on here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Chad horse that I prefer, like you kind of hinted at, was the 2, Pocket Square. Pocket Square was a favorite going into the Just the Game, which is the race downstate at Belmont on Belmont Stakes Day, leading up to this, the one that Altica won. And for whatever reason, just didn't get a good trip that day, didn't run all that well. The biggest thing you have to worry about when you're looking at this race is which horse is going to appreciate the soft ground, because there's clearly going to be soft ground. And that is a thing. There's a lot of times these turf horses will like it firm or not. The one thing is that the European horses that typically come over here, they come over here to look for more firm ground. They're horses that like to hear their feet rattle. They like to feel the bottom of the ground. And over in Europe, they'll run. We would be having conversations in Europe about the weather today and if they're going to run or not. They would absolutely run no matter what. And that's one of the things you got to try to figure out is which horses are going to like some give in the ground. And for me, I just felt like Pocket Square with the breeding offers a nice opportunity to bet the other Chad Brown while the rest of the world is betting, the other one, and also betting the Godolphin horses.
All right, so let's put a big fat, I like to call it a green bow, because we're always here to help people win money as opposed to a red bow. So let's put a big fat green bow on the Diana race, and how would you play it?
Yeah, I'm going to try to get Pocket Square involved. I'm not a person who likes to bet to show. I understand if you're at home and you're getting involved and you want to play, it is a nice way to introduce yourself to the game, and then you can evolve away from that. I prefer to play like trifectas, exactas. I'm going to try to get Pocket Square involved. So I'll use all the likely contenders. I'll use Summer Romance, La Mista, and Altica with Pocket Square. So I'll play an exacta basically with Pocket Square on top to win, with those horses in second. and then I'll flip it with those horses winning in pocket square in second. You can take that same logic and apply it to a trifecta as way. It's a key, basically, where you're keying a horse in that wager. And that's what I'll try to do. If for whatever reason I've lost you before this 8 weeks is over, I'll get you where you need to be. Just bet the horse to show or place today if you want some action while you're watching the race. And we'll be on Fox today too as well.
You have not lost me. And you can guarantee that you're in Saratoga. You can guarantee I am going to make my way to Saratoga. And obviously, based on again, the text messages that I've been receiving the last few days of folks knowing that I'm doing the show with you for the next 8 weeks, you're like the Elvis of Saratoga. So this obviously is a bucket list for me, not just to go up and spend a few days up in Saratoga, but go up there and spend a few days with you, sir. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited about this show.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. This is my favorite game in the world, and to have an opportunity to share it with people and introduce it, it's always a privilege.
And keep the football analogies coming throughout the next 8 weeks, because I really tap into what you're spewing. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, just want to remind you, we're going to be with you every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. except next week. I'm going to be in Asbury Park, so we're starting a little bit early at 8 a.m. But for the next 8 weeks, we'll be here trying to help you win some money. We want to thank ABR, America's Best Racing, as well. Everybody, have a great day at the track.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.